Welcome back. Many people get to their 40s and feel stuck in their careers and thinking they might as well stay in the job they have in the case of better the devil you know.
But after 40, it might be the perfect time to make the career change you've been thinking about. And here to tell us more is CEO of CareerFit, Stephen Shortt. Stephen, you're very welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm delighted that we're having this conversation because I grew up with my mum and dad. My mother was a civil servant for 40 years and my dad was a postman for around the same time, and he was a farmer on the side as well. And we grew up with the notion...
Because we know farming is a job that you can easily do on the side of doing something else.
He was a busy man. I make it out like he wasn't busy, he was very busy.
That's all it takes, yeah.
But I grew up then with this notion that once you got into your job after school, that was it.
That was it. Job for life.
Job for life, and you didn't leave it. And my parents would have always been a bit funny about switching career lanes, but there's a lot more career options for people now.
100%. So the big thing... Back in the day, yeah, you might have been the job you started with is the job that you retired with because there just wasn't the breadth of options. Now, it has never been easier to make a really good living doing something that you enjoy doing. But the flip side of that means that because there's so much choice, it's never been harder to figure out what that should be for you. So there's so many more options that we have, even in our 40s, and the people who are coming out of school who are going in, starting off in their careers, there's never been so many options and so many different ways to have a fulfilling, rewarding career.
Okay, and like Aidan was mentioning the job for life, but you can add to that the pensionable job.
Yeah.
People are shying away from that because they can get their private pensions if they need it. I spoke to a mother recently who told me that her son had been offered a full-time position somewhere and turned it down because he wanted to keep his options open.
Yeah.
And this is like when you read this stat that between 57 to 87 of people say they're unhappy in their jobs.
So this is depending on which study you read. So Gallup do a lot of studies on this on workplace and workplace happiness and things like that. Anywhere between 57% and 87% of people are unhappy in their jobs. And to me, that's a really, really terrible statistic. I mean, there's so many things that we could be doing. But and the biggest problem that I think a lot of people in their 40s have is you said it in the intro, like they feel they're stuck. They feel, well, this is what I've done. This is all I know how to do. So this is my lot now until 65. And to put it into context for people, the average career, when you're working in your average career, you're going to work for 90,000 hours from kind of early 20s to mid to late 60s, 90,000 hours. If you're in your 40s, you still have 45,000 hours of work left. And if you're not happy doing what you're doing, now is the time to change.
And the thing is as well, we've an ageing population. We're living longer. The reality is in years to come, retirement age is going to increase.
It's already on the up.
It's already on the up. So you need to take this into account. Is this really what you're doing? Because I know life is short, but it's also long.
But because life is long, and probably a little bit more so for the career starters who are starting, we work with them as well, but even people in their 40s, you might not only have another full career ahead of you, you might have two. Like you might do something for the next 10 years that is really fulfilling, really rewarding, really helping you to explore a part of your interest or something that you're really passionate about. And then in your late 50s, early 60s, you think, I have another 10 years, but I really don't want to be at the coalface, like hustle, hustle, hustle. I want to do something else. So you can still have time for another career, depending on if you're on the right track for you.
Okay, well, when we heard that you were coming in today, and we were chatting in our production meeting the other day, you mentioned that there are people who know that if they apply for a job in their 40s, the resume can be just pushed away for the younger person. Yeah. So that is something that will stop someone making a career change when they hear stories like that.
So there are stories like that, and that's true, but I actually think that might be a little bit more true in some of the bigger corporate places where they're not looking at a person, they're looking at a demographic, like X person is going to cost me Y to be able to get Z.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people who are working in those bigger organizations, that might be the culture that they know. I would argue that SMEs are the biggest cohort of employers in the country. They still are, regardless of all of the wonderful international businesses that are here. And I think that especially entrepreneurs and small business owners and family businesses who will be able to recognize actually the wealth of experience that comes with from this person. Maybe they won't be in the same career, the same track on a big corporate, but they might find something a lot more fulfilling and a lot more rewarding in a smaller, tighter knit, more better company culture for what they're trying to do. So just because they're applying for the corporate jobs doesn't mean that they don't have this whole area of employment and productivity for themselves.
I think a big issue for people in work is we've all experienced it. You know, you have a bad week in work and you're like, do not like my job. But how can people actually make that distinction between dissatisfaction or just having a bad day or a bad week in their job?
So, yeah, I mean, if you have a bad day, it could be because something happened in the office. It could be because your manager is in a bad mood, or it could be something is happening. But if you're finding, a friend of mine put this recently, the Glen Rowe effect. So, there's some people, so some of the people who are a bit younger might not know this, but like the people in their 40s, the Glen Rowe, as soon as the Glen Rowe theme music came on, it was a Sunday evening. Oh, I'm in school tomorrow. Oh, I'm in work
Geography,
tomorrow.
homework,
it was heartbeat for me. Yeah.
If you are feeling for a number of weeks on a Sunday and you're waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning going, is this it? On a Sunday night. Maybe that's a time to start looking at a difference. If you're annoyed one day and you go, oh, I need a drink. I just need a whiskey and I'll be fine, or whatever it is, then that's not necessarily the time to completely change everything you're doing. But if over a couple of weeks and months that you're finding more and more regularly on the Sunday night, you're going, no, I'm not doing this. Yeah. But at the same time, we would never tell somebody, okay, you're having a bad Sunday, so hand in your notice and then we'll figure out on Tuesday. That's when you start to figure out the plan.
Yeah.
What am I interested in? What are people looking to hire? What am I able to do? What's my ideal career? And it might mean that you might have to go and do a night course for a year, 2 years to get yourself trained into something, figuring out what are the different transferable skills, because we all have transferable skills. And people in their 40s sometimes feel that they don't recognize the talents that they can bring to another environment. So having that plan, having that list of things that you can do, then in 2 years' time, you might be looking at, now's the time for me to make that change.
Okay. You mentioned a whole lot of stuff there. And for people
I talk a lot. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's good. It really is good. But for those who are in that 40-year-old age bracket, they also might have a mortgage.
Yeah.
They might have children.
Absolutely.
They have car loans. And, there's school costs to be covered as well as everything else. Sometimes to make a career change is going to hit the pocket. So when they're making part of that plan and the tasks and the skills that they have to offer, the income is going to be a major factor.
It is going to be a huge factor. And it is probably one of the things that keeps people stuck. Now, what we talk to people about is, like, if you find a path which is more fulfilling or potentially more fulfilling and more rewarding for you, there is a possibility that once you've done the training, you might have to take, if you move to another company or move to another industry, maybe you're a senior manager, maybe you have to drop down to a junior manager for a year or two. And that might be a year or two of pinch. But it's in an area that you are really interested in, that you have a passion for, that you are going to be really excited going into work for. And the likelihood is that you will progress in that career faster, the same way as you may have progressed early in your other career, because you're really hungry for it and you're really energized by it. So it might be a year or two of maybe tightening the belt a little bit, but that gives you the opportunity to have a much longer runway to be far more successful in the medium term. Yeah.
If your light is shining, it brightens everybody else.
I like that.
100%. And look, if you're sitting at home, there will be a lot of people who are dissatisfied in their jobs and maybe they feel like they can't see a way out or they don't know what step to make. What advice would you give them to start?
So we created a really simple questionnaire online. It's called startoverafter40.com. It takes about 2 minutes and it really shows you where you are in this, whether you're, I really need to get out and I need to have a plan, or I'm like, I'm not so sure and maybe I need to explore my options. And then what are the next best steps for you to figure out? If you're happy, if you love your job, if you love your work, brilliant. Have a fantastic life. Be happy. You're a really lucky person. If you're feeling that you want to have a look at what options are out there for you, take the quiz. Takes 2 minutes and you'll get a lot of advice and experience.
It's exciting that you have
absolutely exciting. When I hear of conversations like this, I always think of Buster Merrifield.
Okay.
Buster Merrifield worked in finance all his life and then decided, I've had enough of this, gave up his life in banking, decided to do drama and wound up as Uncle Albert on Only Fools and Horses.
You see?
But there are so many stories of people who, in their 40s, in their 50s, whether it's that they decided that they didn't want to do it anymore, or they were let go. I mean, there's a number of reasons that people might need to do this restart, and having that plan and having that look at what is the right career for me, that just frees people up to do what they're here for.
Good to see you, Steve. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much. Now, still to come, we're chatting to food influencer Niall Sinnott about his pastry passion, and we'll get his expert opinion on our sausage roll selection.
Okay, I hope he doesn't eat them all, though.
I hope I'm starving.
See you in a minute.